عودة ويا المعودة أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
For centuries, this has been viewed by outsiders as one of the most dangerous places in the world. 150 years ago, against popular advice, one man came to explore this forbidden land. I'm about to embark on that same journey, the first person to ever retrace his footsteps. It was in December of 1854 that the controversial British explorer, Captain Sir Richard Burton, crossed these plains. Behind him lay the port city of Zayla at the mouth of the Red Sea, and ahead of him lay the Muslim citadel of Hara, set in the Ethiopian highlands some 200 miles from here. The rulers of Hara, a family of emirs, believed that if an infidel were to penetrate the city, both they and the population would be doomed. Therefore, any non-believer who entered the city was put to death. Burton was a maverick and one of the most audacious explorers of the Victorian era, who scandalised English society, not least with his translations of Eastern erotica. But he also wrote 43 books, spoke 40 languages, was a scholar of Oriental religion and culture, as well as being an accomplished swordsman. He was also a pioneering anthropologist who totally immersed himself in whatever culture he was studying. One of his trademarks was the use of disguises, and it was in local dress that he gained unique access to Mecca and Medina. On his return, he took the title of Haji Abdullah, the disguise he adopted for this dangerous expedition to Hara.
It is a point of honor with me to utilize my title of Haji by entering the city, visiting the ruler, and returning in safety after breaking the Guardian's spell. Towards the end of November 1854, 4 camels were procured and a band was engaged. We hired 2 women cooks and a 4th servant. Sandals were cut out for walking, palavers were held, and affairs began to wear the semblance of departure. Unknown Hara lies, according to my dead reckoning, 220 degrees southwest of and 175 statute miles from Zayla. Ruggi, a petty Isa chief, warned us seriously to prepare for dangers and disasters, and this seemed to be the general opinion of Zayla, whose timid citizens determined that we were tired of our lives.
My family involvement with the Somali people began in 1938 when my father first visited the region. And for the past 14 years, I've spent much of my life amongst the Somalis, both in times of peace and war. However, of course, it was Burton who was the first European to actually travel extensively in the Somali region. And he wrote wonderfully of the people and places that he encountered. And it is these writings which have inspired me to make this journey. Burton described very precisely the journey that he made. And working from his writings, I'm going to follow as faithfully as possible the route that he took. The first part of my journey takes me along the hot coastal plains. Then I'll be turning inland and following one of the many dry riverbeds up to the first range of mountains at Jif. From there, I cross what Burton called the Mara Plain, a vast high-level plateau that leads me into the Ethiopian highlands proper, and eventually to Hara itself.
The Somali reckon their journeys by the Gedi, or march, which varies from 4 to 5 hours. They begin before dawn and halt at about 11 a.m., the time of the morning meal. When a second march is made, they load at 3 p.m. and advance till dark. Thus, 15 miles would be the average of fast travelling.
Well, that's about enough for one morning. The sun's about overhead and we've been walking about 4 hours, and the camels need to eat, and I think probably we need to brew some tea as well. Looks like we lost the lid of the kettle. Somebody forgot to tie the lid on, so it's going to take a bit longer to boil the tea there. One of the reasons Burton's trip was so successful is that he completely understood and used the Somali clan system. A clan is basically the same as you have in Scotland. It's an extended family with all members of that group claiming common descent from a single forefather. Osman here, my friend and companion, is a member of the Isa clan, who are the people who inhabit this particular region. And it was from this clan that Burton also took his guide and companion. Now, apart from being my friend, Osman is also very useful. He is what we call an aban, and an aban is like a guarantor for the journey. So long as Osman is with me, he provides me with temporary membership of his clan and all the protection that that can offer. So he's a very important person. The Somali region was actually one of the first places where domestic camels were introduced. And to this day, there are more camels in the Somali region than anywhere else on earth. They only ever ride them if they're sick, and they only load them relatively lightly, and it's for their milk that Somalis really prize their camels. It was in 1985 that I first really got hands-on experience of how to use camels, and it was when I was effectively an apprentice camel boy for 3 or 4 months that I had to learn not only about how to graze camels but also how to load them and to live with them. As a photographer, I've always carried a camera, and over my 14-year involvement with the region, I've built up a unique archive of Somali culture and history. Not only did I live as a nomad for many years, but I also fought in the War of Liberation, which overthrew the dictator Mohammed Siad Barre. And I was present when the northwest of Somalia declared itself the independent Republic of Somaliland. On many occasions, in fact most of these occasions, I was, like Burton, the only European present.
To men gifted with any imaginative powers, the anticipation must ever be worse than the event. Thus it happens that he who feels a thrill of fear before engaging in a peril exchanges it for a throb of exultation when he finds himself hand to hand with the danger.